In the young 2019-20 NBA season, NBA teams and players are off to their wildest starts in years. I know it's damn early, but in order, you're about to see the 10 most wild NBA storylines this year, and whether or not you can expect these starts to keep going. Shout out to Ona, who answers with Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Pascal Siakam, Devin Booker, and Luka Doncic. Go see if those players were featured on my first-time All-Star list last video. Thanks to Ona for the great take. Questions coming up for next vid. Shout out. Now into the video. Wild storyline number 10 is Kyrie Irving's mood swings. For reference, in May 2019, ESPN's Jackie McMullen published a piece titled Kyrie Irving and the Celtics State of Dismay, focusing on the impact Kyrie's mood swings had on his Boston teammates. And now, recently, as you've likely heard since Irving's been one of the hottest media topics in sports because of it, Jackie's reported a mood swing episode from Kyrie on Brooklyn's trip to China recently in the preseason. From Michael Wilbon.
This is a big deal that Jackie hits upon. Jackie was around the Boston Celtics a lot the last 2 years, where Kyrie Irving was there and not so much there and there again. He seems impossible in a lot of ways.
To Stephen
While
A.
he's in Boston, it's clear he's a different kind of personality. Does he get quiet, a bit introverted? Yes, he does.
The only thing Uncle Drew's been in the media for just over a week into the season is his reported mood swings. I'm aware Jackie McMullen's a highly respected ESPN reporter. Based off that, these reports could be legit, but let's go a tad easy on Kyrie here, at least when he's averaging over 30 points per night through 6 games, and isn't the problem for the currently 2-4 Nets. But this mood swing storyline could ultimately end up working out for Irving, that is if he can lead the Nets further in the playoffs than they went without him, which is only the first round. However, if he regresses the Nets winning ways like he did with the one win from the finals Celtics, it's the exact opposite, and Jackie Mack wins, I guess.
Jackie McMullen, who doesn't get better than Jackie Mack.
Number 9, the Miami Heat's fast start. Without Jimmy Butler for their first 3 games, Miami was and still is being stunningly led by the somehow undrafted in 2018, Kendrick Nunn. Nunn spent last year in the G League and averaged 19 points in 29 minutes per night over 49 games for the Santa Cruz Warriors. Miami signed him on April 10th of 2019, and then in 2019-20, he's averaged 19.5 points so far to lead the Heat in scoring and to a 5-1 start and the East's number 2 seed. Kendrick really looks like a 10-year veteran when he's operating in the pick and roll, displaying that his G League experience and consistent minor league playing time perfectly prepared him for his current role in the pros. Their other rookie, Tyler Herro's fulfilling his lottery expectations with an efficient 16 points per night. Herro's another potentially elite scorer on the wing for Miami. He and Nunn next to Jimmy Buckets is an incredibly versatile offensive tandem. To set them up, there's Justice Winslow, who defines the word point forward and looks the best and smartest he's ever been. Then Goran Dragic still looking like his elite playmaking self at age 33. But lastly, Heat fans, I didn't forget your up-and-coming, explosively athletic big man Bam Adebayo, whose well-rounded game based off rebounding, rim protection, and beastly paint scoring is topped off by one stat, and that's 5.2 assists per game, which is what the 7-foot, 255-pounder has averaged through 6 games. That's right behind Nikola Jokic in assists among centers. That stat specifically may be a fluke, but because of Miami's mix of impressive youngsters and vets around the elite Butler, this Heat start is far from a fluke. Number 8, Skinny Dwight. He may not have the standout all-star numbers, and he's shooting a typical 3 of 8 thus far on his free throw attempts. But Dwight Howard's defensive rotations are at an elite level this year, and he's had some big performances offensively as well. 2 of Howard's first 6 games have been perfect shooting night double-doubles with 2+ blocks. There were reports that Dwight lost as much as 40 pounds from the 265-pound frame he had last year when he played only 9 games with the Wizards. One of the reasons for Howard's all-star decline this decade was his inability to keep up with quicker bigs laterally. If you watch Dwight in his bigger frame, his movement in general wasn't fluid whatsoever, and he struggled to get up and down the floor. In 2019-20 though, so far Howard leads all centers in real plus-minus, while averaging nearly 2.5 blocks per night. He's been a big contributor to the currently first-seeded Lakers, and it's early, but the shape Dwight's in is going to allow him to play a valuable role for the Lakers into the playoffs. since his weight loss perfectly allows him to keep up with athletic, shooting up and down bigs. Howard's play so far isn't a fluke, and he can still have a game here and there offensively where he shows flashes of his former post-up self. Number 7, the Kings' slow start. Last year's decade-high 40-win season seemed like something the Kings were poised to build off. For some reason, they then shockingly fired head coach Dave Joerger, making Luke Walton Sacramento's 4th head coach in 4 years. It's impossible to build any momentum, chemistry, or trust within your organization when you're constantly changing coaches like this. Because of that, the front office is seeing exactly why they're currently 2-5. Before barely scraping out a win at home against the Jazz and a blowout home win to the young Knicks, Sacramento looked, and unfortunately I think will continue to look, extremely vulnerable, really on both ends. Offensively, the Kings' sets are extremely basic as they heavily rely on their young backcourt to score in the pick and roll, and it's clearly a poorly infiltrated offensive system by Walton. Really, we can't blame him though, it's not his fault, he's the coach in the first place. Last year's Kings played hard and smart for Dave Joerger, and Kings fans can put nearly all the blame on their 2-5 start to his hiring. This start in a tough Western Conference, combined with how bad Luke Walton's look, lead me to believe this isn't a fluke, but I'm a fan of the Kings' young talent, so I hope I'm wrong. The far tougher NBA conference keeps getting more stacked as the Mavericks, Wolves, Suns, and Spurs are all seemingly improved early on. Dallas, led by rising phenoms Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, assisted by the underrated two-way 6'6" point guard DeLon Wright, have jumped out to a 3-2 start. Minnesota's dramatic loss to Philly is their only loss. They're at 4-1. Karl Towns and Wiggins have averaged 47 combined points, contributed to by 11 straight dominant fourth quarter points from Andrew Wiggins against Miami. Lastly, the Suns have started 4-2 with a shocking overtime appearance against the Nuggets. They did lose that game, but a win against the Clippers. Booker, of course, leads the way with his averages of 24 points and 6 assists on 47% shooting, but Kelly Oubre next to him on the wing has scored nearly 20 points per night, and Ricky Rubio's playmaking is the perfect fit in the Suns' offense. Tied with the Wolves for second in the West are the overlooked San Antonio Spurs, who flourished with the return of DeJounte Murray next to a shockingly efficient DeRozan in the backcourt, who's shooting 52% from the field, DeMar DeRozan is. Despite what you just heard though, all 4 of those teams' hot starts have a chance to be flukes in the Wild West. I'm most comfortable though with saying that Dallas's hot start isn't a fluke with their star power, but on the other hand, the 3 other teams I just mentioned are damn dangerous and young as well. Even the Spurs have the youth with DeJounte Murray, Bryn Forbes, and Derek White. So I'm undecided on whether these first 5 games or so are a fluke or not. Number 5, the Warriors' slow start. Curry, you likely heard, just tragically broke his left hand. You'll hear all about that, but it was a brutal Warrior 2019-20 opening before that happened, signified by Draymond Green saying, Golden State suffered 3 blowout losses so far, 2 to LA and OKC to open the season, and most recently to the surging Suns. In the Phoenix loss when Golden State was trailing 83-54 on their home floor, Curry landed awkwardly on his left hand, and then the impact of the 259-pound, 7-footer Australian Aaron Baines fell on it. For the already extremely thin Warriors overall roster, this is obviously a massive blow. D'Angelo Russell's numbers are down in the West. Don't be surprised if some kind of trade is made for a volume of productive players, and Draymond Green's name's been thrown out there. He's going to turn 30 next March and likely wants to play for a contender. This shows how things can go from 100 to 0 real quick in the ruthlessly competitive NBA. The Dubs' reign over the league is over, and it took just over 4 months for it to be slowly ruined. They're 1-5 so far, and things are probably going to get worse. The Dubs are underwhelming, it's not a fluke. Number 4, the new breed of stars. This NBA season specifically, we're witnessing the new generation of all-stars blossom into the players they'll be for the next decade or so. A significant number of young stars have developed, starting with the most dominant youngins, Trae Young, who returned ingratefully just a week from his ankle injury and had been tearing it up on the perimeter at 50% from deep. Trae's locked in on getting Atlanta back to the playoffs and getting an All-Star appearance in Chicago. Pascal Siakam, Luka Doncic, and Brandon Ingram round out the main crop of 2019-20's blossoming stars. Siakam and Doncic I just talked about in my reasoning for their first All-Star appearance. Go check that out after this video. Ingram's on a 1-5 Pelicans team, but scoring at an efficient All-Star-like rate and keeping the Pelicans competing in every game they've played so far. Without the pressure next to LeBron, Ingram's thriving as the Pels' primary creator on the wing. Brandon's 7'3" wingspan has always made him a problem. Now he's got the maturity, confidence, but more importantly, the right situation to reach his full potential. He did recently get hurt, but it was revealed that he didn't suffer a concussion, so Brandon's day-to-day. But the 23.5 points per game Ingram's averaging, along with these other stars' averages, will inevitably drop off. But I think Ingram can average around 22 points per night, which would be a great step towards where New Orleans ultimately expects him to be in a few years. And if Zion could somehow get and stay healthy, wow, that's a dangerous wing combo. Number 3, Derrick Rose's return to greatness, averaging an astounding 20 points in only 25 minutes through Detroit's first 6 games. D. Rose looks without a doubt the best he's ever been. The amount of points he's averaged in such little time, with numbers relating to your My Career player, as well as Derrick's cap to his triumphant return, that all rank him at the 3rd wildest storyline in the early season. He had a beautiful return to Chicago where he got a standing O, a deserved standing O, and he dominated against his former team. Without a doubt, Rose can sustain this kind of scoring because he's far removed from any significant injury he's had in the past, and he's adjusted to both his body post-knee injuries and his role as 6th man. Even though he just suffered a minor hamstring injury, the 25 minutes per night in 6 Piston games so far is an incredibly wise amount of playing time for Derrick, to which I praise Detroit coach Dwayne Casey. Despite lesser minutes than he's used to, though, Rose can still win 6th Man of the Year. An All-Star, like the thumbnail implied, is a little much to ask, but this beastly and efficient volume from D. Rose is something we can get used to. It's far from a fluke. Number 2, Towns and Embiid's scuffle and Instagram jabs. If you're an NBA fan or have social media, this is something you've likely seen. A scuffle for the ages between Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. Each got 2-game suspensions. Ben Simmons tapped out Cat with a rear naked choke and didn't get anything for it. This wild storyline's fairly quick, but this wasn't like any other recent NBA brawl. With a light push-shove and a little back and forth, this had real proven beef from not only the fight, but the incredibly intense Instagram back and forth after it. Just complete drama, and you can't forget about Karl Anthony Towns' mom raging at Embiid. The Wolves and Sixers play their 2nd and final game of 2019-20 on March 24th. That's nearly half a year for sides to settle, but I don't know about you, I'm still marking my calendar for that game. And number 1, rookie domination. Performing better than any beginning to an NBA season I can remember in 2019-20 is this year's rookie class. So many beasting, in fact, that there's 2 sections of rookies the number 1 wild early season NBA storyline has. We start with the lottery picks stepping up. RJ Barrett, Ja Morant, Rui Hachimura, Kobe White, and Tyler Herro. 6'6" guard, New York's number 3 pick, RJ Barrett's already an efficient, legit NBA option. 3rd in rookie scoring, shooting nearly 40% from 3-point range while using his size to expose smaller defenders at his position, while getting any bucket he wants in the paint. To Memphis, where Ja Morant's block on Kyrie Irving in his 3rd NBA game to force OT in a game Memphis went on to win, highlighted his 30-point night and 17.5 points per game averages thus far. 2nd in rookie scoring is Washington's Rui Hachimura, whose low post game has translated perfectly to the NBA, and also was 3 of 3 from deep in their last game against the Rockets. Hachimura's a damn intriguing prospect. Lastly, for the lottery rookie standouts is the Bulls' 2019 number 7 pick Kobe White, putting up a solid 12 points per night using his craftiness and quickness to his advantage. And then there's number 13 pick Tyler Herro. Talked a little about him, but it's his teammate Kendrick Nunn that leads us into the overlooked rookie domination. The abundance of rookies that weren't high draft picks producing at an an unexpectedly high level are PJ Washington, Kendrick Nunn, and also quick mentions to Matisse Thybulle of the Sixers, whose 3 steals per game leads all rookies, and Eric Pascal of the Warriors, who looks a bit like a young Draymond Green out there. The Hornets' shockingly lethal stretch big man PJ Washington, though, is looking to be a rarely solid draft selection from MJ's Hornets. In 33 minutes over his first 5 career games, PJ's three-point percentage is at a ridiculous 50%, which is 3rd amongst all rookies. Charlotte's worth watching just for him. Undrafted Kendrick Nunn, I mentioned, is an absolute wizard in the pick and roll, but if you didn't hear this stat, he's the first player to score 100 points in their first 5 career games since Kevin Durant. His 22.5 points per night for Miami leads every impressive member of the 2019 rookie class by nearly 5 points. He's been stunning in every sense, even averaging 2 steals per night nearly, but the overall rookie class as a whole is what the real top early NBA storyline is. So answer tonight's question, and if you're new and enjoyed, of course, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single list, story, or prediction. This was D-Flow. Have a great one, and see you next video.